It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you here in Munich. We are going again and are launching the proHolz Student Trophy. This is a competition for students, and we are meeting here today in Munich at the Munich Urban Colab. That's an institution that can be used for networking, for exchanging about the city of the future, the smart city. And this is precisely where we want to come in with our competition. We want to think about sustainable solutions for our cities. My name is Sigline Wenger. I work for proHolz Austria in Vienna, and I am in charge and contact point of the student trophy competition. I would like to welcome all participants who are following today via live stream on YouTube. It's a great pleasure to have you. Wooden city, improving and continuing the urban fabric. This is the slogan of this year's proHolz Student Trophy. And as I said earlier, this competition is being held for the fourth time already. Our cities are faced with major challenges that lead into the future, such as the rapidly growing number of citizens, the growing demand for infrastructure, and this is caused by the growth of the city, use and consumption of resources, especially valuable land, and of course CO2 emissions that is to be avoided with a view to climate change and the ongoing debate about this problem. We want to plant forests in the cities because wooden structures bind CO2. I read a very interesting title in the newspaper today, and it says, trees instead of concrete, new strategies to combat the consumption of land in cities. This is precisely what we want to do, grow a second forest in the world, in the city, so to speak, and make the cities more resilient. In this edition of the competition, we have a wide range of different cities, and we are connecting Vienna, Berlin, and Munich, and each of these cities is making a very interesting site available for us. And by means of these dynamic capitals, we'd like to see how our cities can become more resilient thanks to compaction, densification, and modern structures. We are going to show how we can make the cities sustainable and fit for the future. Here is the agenda for today. At the beginning, we have welcoming addresses from the project partners, and this is proHolz Austria, and this in cooperation with proHolz Bavaria. And we would like to thank the cities Munich, Berlin, and Vienna very much, because we are grateful for their valuable support, and we will also hear welcoming words from representatives of these three cities. Afterwards, we will kick off the competition and explain the criteria, the tender, the jury members, and this will be presented by the chairman of the jury, Maximilian Luger. He is an architect and, as I said, chairman of the jury. Then the three cities are going to present their sites, and we will hear everything about the specific characteristics of the sites. The first presentation is on Munich, represented by the Timber Construction and Building Design Department, and Natural Building Lab, TU Berlin, is going to present Berlin site. And finally, the site in Vienna, the presentation here again on with a focus on timber construction. We have 2 departments from the University of Technology of Vienna that are supporting us in this competition. As I said, this event is streamed live, and we are using various media for the presentations. This is due, of course, to COVID, because there are still bans on traveling and restrictions on traveling, but we are making use of modern technologies. So we are going to have live Zoom and then also video contributions and live speakers here on site. But let me start with the welcoming words. The first is Alexander Gump, the chairman of proHolz Bavaria, followed by Richard Stralz, the chairman of proHolz Austria. And they recorded a video message for you, and I would now like to ask you to please play the video. Dear students, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that the Student Trophy 2022 is kicking off in Munich today, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you. It is a particular great pleasure that this year's Student Trophy is a joint event organized by proHolz Austria and proHolz Bavaria. And this is to show that we are cooperating across national borders in the spirit of timber construction. Timber construction has recently achieved something that is by no means self-evident, namely that timber construction has become a matter of course, and even more so, because according to the government declaration of the Bavarian Prime Minister, Markus Söder, the focus is to be on wooden structures in future, at least in the public sector, as far as this is feasible from a technical point of view. And we do know that indeed, everything is possible up to the high-rise limit, be it residential, commercial, or public buildings. But this development also means new responsibility for us. To date, our wooden buildings have mainly been solitary flagship buildings in urban areas, but now we are supposed to provide buildings that meet the general demand. And this is precisely what we have wanted to achieve. But this also means that it is no longer enough for buildings to be made of as much wood as possible to be special. It takes more now. The ambitious design criteria of the Student Trophy will provide good guidelines for us in real life, and they will point the way. We do not build for the sake of building. We do not build for us. We build for people. This is our task and our responsibility. And the buildings have to serve the people, and the footprint must be as small as possible. And this over the entire life cycle. This means that we have to be careful and economical in using our resources. And this also refers to the renewable raw material of wood. This means clever construction methods with a high degree of prefabrication. It also means sturdy and durable designs, and it means deconstructible and reusable structures. If we take building seriously in a social context, then we will naturally end up with wood. Dear students, I hope that you will have a lot of fun and that you will enjoy the exciting competition and the design tasks. I am sure that the outcome will be excellent, and I'm already looking forward to the presentations and the award ceremony in Vienna. And I promise you, I will certainly be there in person in Vienna. Good luck. Dear students, dear professors and assistants, it's a great pleasure for me to kick off a new dimension of the proHolz Student Trophy. We have been organizing this trophy for 4 times now. This is the 4th time now, but it is for the first time that the competition is international. We have 3 construction sites located in Vienna, in Munich, and in Berlin. And I would like to thank these cities for giving us the opportunity to use these interesting building sites for our competition. Wood, and we all know that, is a part of a solution to climate change. Cities, we know that by 2050, around 70% of the world's population will live in cities, and we have to address this, and we need new ideas for that. We need environmentally friendly ideas, and we need building materials that are gentle on nature. The proHolz Student Trophy is part of this solution approach. Young civil engineers, young architects are invited to work in teams and to develop projects to create a livable, climate-friendly city and urban environment. Modern timber construction and the great new products such as cross-laminated timber and glued laminated timber can make a significant contribution to providing affordable housing, good housing in an urban environment, and protect the climate at the same time. The competition is starting today. The deadline for submissions is the 31st of March 2022, and the official award ceremony will take place in Vienna on the 19th of May at the University of Technology in Vienna. The prize money is 15,000 euros, and I wish you all a great time with these projects. Good luck, enjoy the competition, and we are looking forward to many submissions and great ideas for the future of our cities. Thank you, Alexander Gump and Richard Stralz, for the welcoming words. Jürgen Bauer is Managing Director of proHolz Bavaria, and I would like to quote from the two videos that we've seen earlier. We heard that we do not build for the sake of building, but for the sake of people. And timber is one of the solutions in the fight against climate change. My question for Jürgen Bauer: what about our forests that are at the beginning of the value, at the start of the value chain? Is there enough wood available for the future of timber construction? Dear Miss Vega, thank you very much for your introductory words. Dear students, timber construction is booming around the world, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here at the kickoff event for the proHolz Student Trophy, and I congratulate you on the topic of wooden city. It's a great honor for us to be part of all of this. Today we are discussing timber construction in the cities, but I would also like to take the opportunity to talk about raw material availability. The timber construction will only develop in future if there is sufficient round timber from forestry available. And Ms. Vega asked if there is sufficient raw material, and yes, I can tell you that there is sufficient raw material. In the last decades, we use less than is regrowing, but what we need is active and sustainable forest management. Simply putting them under protection, as some people ask, would be counterproductive. So yes, there is a risk that the raw material becomes scarcer if the political decisions are in that way. So forests need to be managed gently so that then there is enough timber available. And timber construction is certainly has a positive impact on climate, and well-managed forests are certainly an asset for a sound climate. And the ideal value chain would be short transportation routes, which means that we use local wood, but this requires close cooperation with the forest industry. So civil engineers, architects should cooperate more closely with the forest managers. The wood that we gain from the forest is then bound, the CO2 is then bound in the wooden structures and the buildings that are developed in the cities. And this takes us back to the wooden city. And this is one of the main topics, strategic topics of construction industry and forest management. And I can assure you that proHolz Austria and proHolz Bavaria will will support you in all of your efforts and provide documentation and material for you. If we succeed in the next few years, then timber structures and the building working with the raw material of timber can look forward to a bright future. And the first two speakers mentioned the people. Alexander Gump said, we do not build for the sake of building, but we build for people. Yes, and this also means that we have to create buildings of a higher aesthetic appeal. And timber offers excellent options here, feeling at ease in the building, and is something that wood can ensure. And climate change has also been mentioned by Mr. Stralz, and climate change will also become a more important aspect in architecture and in building. So maybe new solutions need to be developed. We certainly need more standardization in timber construction, and the timber construction industry has to develop further, but it has embarked on a good path. Resource efficiency will also be a focal topic, and I am expecting further development of construction material here in future. Here in our cluster here in Bavaria, we also deal with hardwood and focus on its use in construction. Dear students, I hope that you will enjoy the design task, the competition, use the great raw material that timber is, find the potential that it offers, and use this potential. And everybody at our universities is very much looking forward to your projects, to the presentations, and the award ceremony next year in May in Vienna. I wish you all the best for your success. Thank you very much, Mr. Bauer. Thank you. The support cooperation of the three cities, Berlin, Munich, and Vienna, is a great help for our project, for the competition. The three cities helped us to find very suitable sites for our competition, and I would like to thank the three cities most warmly. Here today we have Moritz Rieke here in Munich. He is an architect and urban planner, and he works at the Department of Urban Planning and Building Regulations, and I would like to ask him for his introductory and welcoming words and some words on the city and the project.
Thank you very much for the short introduction. My name is Moritz Rieke. I am the personal responsible person for Michael Harding, the head of urban planning, and I'm also responsible for training and teaching. So I'm the interface and link to the university, so to speak. So there is some echo here. It sounds a little bit strange. So it is a pleasure for me to be here today and to be able to say some welcoming words to you. Ms. Merck cannot come, and Michael Hame cannot come today either, but they would like to greet you very warmly, and they also provide a big support for this competition. So this project site here in Munich was also an idea of Professor Elisabeth Merck. 2 years ago, we saw already that the Student Trophy 2020 provided great results. There the topic was adding an extension, adding another floor. And this year, there is a different topic, and we are very happy to provide support to this student trophy. It is very important for the sustainability in construction here in Munich, and it's also a top priority. And also the social discourse on the topic of high-rise buildings is very important. And another aspect is, of course, building with wood and timber. Some of you might know Prinz Eugen Park as the highest timber construction in Munich. And I think that also the people in the planning department share the idea that timber construction is still something very special. And I think that we should really proceed further so that timber constructions become fashionable. I would like to address a few words to the students. About the status quo of the project in Munich. The atelier, the studio site is part of the building regulation that came into force in 1920. So the site was military barracks before. So it was also an air base before the war, and after the war, the US Army took over the airbase. So the history is a very interesting one of this site. The Bundeswehr, the German army, took over the site then in the 1950s, and in the 1990s they wanted to give up this site, and then the city of Munich started with development measures and wanted to make this site usable for civilian use. So this plot was then allowed for civil use, and also the artistic side then developed at this time. During the 1990s, the area was one of the biggest artists colony, so to speak, in Germany, with more than 300 studios involved. And then the city of Munich also decided to preserve some of the studios, but on the other hand also wanted to create a residential area. And so this plot for the competition, we could preserve this building with 101 studios, and the studios are given to artists by the city of Munich. Last year in April, we had the idea, and there was also the application at the city of Munich for the promotion of arts and culture. And then a feasibility study was carried out if it was possible with regard to building regulations to enter this project. And many people were involved and also carried out a study. It is a very sound study, but maybe we can get a little bit more out of it. Seen this project from the political view, we can say there was another application. If maybe we could also build a high-rise building on this site. So the decision was from local politics because the idea was to build a 60-meter high-rise building. So there is currently a feasibility study being undertaken, and the student trophy is also a great idea because the students can work on this site, on this project at the same time. And we also heard about this high-rise the debate in Munich that is really gaining some wind in Munich. So lots of discussions will be carried out. So we will definitely hear more about that. But maybe some people would like to interfere a little bit more in the teaching and also include this project in their teaching. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to good solutions that we can maybe make use of, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Rieke. It was very interesting. It's a very interesting task that you have there in Munich. And I'm also looking forward to seeing all the great projects that we will receive. So let's now take a look to Berlin, because we've got a live connection to Berlin. Wenke Christoph is the State Secretary for Residential Housing and she is responsible for this area in the Senate Department for Urban Development and Housing. In Berlin, we also have a very interesting project site, and I would like to welcome Ms. Christoph, and I would like to ask you for some welcoming words. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome you all. It is a huge pleasure that we as the city of Berlin can also participate in the proHolz Student Trophy competition, and that we can also offer a very special project site. Timber construction is for us quite a new challenge, because Berlin has got less tradition in timber construction than Bavaria or Austria. For us, this oldest construction material in the world is also one of the newest construction materials for housing development and construction in Berlin. So we started with the construction of nursery schools and kindergartens in Berlin a few years ago, and we are currently working on developing more than 20 additional buildings for schools. So there is a huge growing demand for timber construction, and therefore in the public space we definitely want to start with timber construction. There are some very interesting timber construction projects by private investors, for example the Boho high-rise building. And furthermore, our goal is to create one of the largest timber construction quarters in Europe. This is located near the Tegel airport. So there should not only be a new creativity and technology hub, but we also plan to create a quarter for 5,000 with 5,000 apartments for 10,000 residents. And there we are working together with building associations and also with some public investors to create the houses, and also taking into account all the ecological features. And we want to create a model quarter, a model district. This will be a very exciting task, because we really hope to anchor and to root timber construction more strongly. Many of my previous speakers have said that timber construction is also a very important feature for providing affordable housing, and therefore we have to invest in that. This is namely because timber construction makes a contribution to climate neutral development. Timber constructions are also very stable, and they can be realized in a short time. So the first timber construction project that we carried out could be realized within just a few months. And we also have the possibility for standardized construction because lots of the elements are prefabricated. So we are very keen on efficient timber construction, and therefore it's a huge pleasure for us to participate in the proHolz Student Trophy 22, and also by providing a project site. I would just like to say a few words about the project site. We are offering the House of Statistics. This is has got a little uncommon situation. It's a building that was created in the 1970s. It was created in the former German Democratic Republic. And then there was an association of artists and also the city of Berlin. They decided that this building would not be demolished, but they decided in favor of a further development where housing would be possible, and where there are lots of spaces for artistic studios and also for communal areas. So in this Berlin urban center, we are planning to create a mixed area in a very cooperation between the civil society and also the city of Berlin. So this project is really at the eye level of the different stakeholders, where we are always trying to include different ideas and proposals and to convert it into an exciting and interesting model region for sustainable further development. This House of Statistics should also play a role with regard to circular economy when it comes to the use of the structure, the use of energy, and also the use of renewable materials. And this plays a big role in this quarter. We hope that the contributions for this competition from the students, that they also take up these ideas and that they also bring inspiration for our project and also ideas that we can include in the development of this quarter. We are confident that this project, House of Statistics, will be a model project for you, and I'm really looking forward for lots of innovative and interesting contributions. And we wish all the participants lots of success. Thank you very much, Ms. Christoph. This was very interesting. We will very carefully follow the future development in Berlin. Well, timber construction is very much suitable for the development of our cities in a sustainable sense. And we look forward to the projects that will be submitted for the student trophy. So thank you very much, and kind regards from Munich to Berlin. Thank you very much, and I'll give the regards back to you. Now let's come to the city of Vienna. The Vienna social housing or city council housing is something which is being undertaken for more than 100 years in Vienna. The residents of the city are provided with affordable housing with a good living quality. And meanwhile, every fourth person in Vienna lives in a so-called council building or social housing building provided by the city of Vienna. Also for the future, the city has got big projects and ideas for creating affordable housing in a sustainable way. We made a recording by the welcoming words from the representative of the city of Vienna, Thomas Schuster, who is the head, who is the representative and the head of the Department of New Construction of the city of Vienna, of Wiener Wohnen, and he's going to present the project to us and also the future of housing in Vienna. Dear ladies and gentlemen, in the Munich Urban Colab, dear participants in the live stream. My name is Thomas Schuster. I'm the head of Department of New Construction of the company City of Vienna, Wiener Wohnen. And it is now my pleasure to give you a few welcoming and introducing words on behalf of Vienna. The model of the Viennese social housing has now a history that is more than 100 years old to tell. About 1900, more than 2 million people lived in Vienna. This is more than these days. But at that time, most of them lived in desperate housing situation. And then the Social Democratic Party, more than 100 years ago in 1920, proposed to offer a new building project, namely to provide an enormous residential building program with thousands of council flats. And this model was developed and modernized and also further developed in the city, in a city that is now among the most livable cities in the world. And now it's about the modernization of the different social housing apartments. apartments. And this also includes more than 47,000 garages and parking spaces and thousands of catering establishments and eateries. And this also makes us the biggest communal property management company in Europe and also provides us with lots of responsibility. At the beginning of 2021, we started the project Gemeindebau, the municipality builds, which is a sustainable building project for the future of social housing. So by 2025, the investment volume of almost 1 billion euros should be triggered, of which 550 million euros for the refurbishment of existing buildings, and the rest approximately 450 million euros for the new construction of 1,800 apartments. So the number of population is growing, and therefore also the need for affordable housing is very big. And so we decided to do no more soil sealing, but to fall back on existing buildings. And to support the competition with a project site includes these topics which are very important for us. And therefore it was our big concern to also support this competition. We're looking forward to the results of this competition that should combine efficient, affordable housing with ecological and socially sustainable topics such as accessibility, and can continue the history of council housing in Vienna in its role as an innovator. We would like to thank you for your cooperation in the Student Trophy 2022, and we wish you lots of success for the competition, and have fun and enjoy this kick-off event. Thank you very much, Thomas Schuster from Wiener Wohnen. We will now hear more about the introduction, the competition, and also the regulations of this competition. Maximilian Luger is an architect, and he is the chairman of the jury, and he is going to present to us the regulations, the criteria, and also the aspects which the jury is going to take into particular consideration. And he's also going to present the jury to us. Mr. Luger, the floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Maximilian Luger. It is now again my pleasure to introduce you to the topic. And 2 years ago, I was already the chairman of the jury of the Student Trophy, and apparently I did a good job. So I was asked to do it again, and I was happy to contribute to this very moving project. Because what proHolz does here is a model. This is certainly something that will lead us into the future. Let me say a few words about myself. It's always important that you know the chairman of the jury, and I can only introduce myself by introducing my work, the work that I do day in, day out at my office. And I'm going to present two projects that I carried out, a smaller one and a bigger one, that we and my office developed recently. And they fit in nicely into the topic of the competition. These are two projects, as I said. One was built in Linz. It was developed at Johannes Kepler University of Linz, and this university is growing and expanding. And what we did there was a very interesting small project called the Circus of Knowledge, the Circus des Wissens. And the objective of this project is to start at a very early age, when children are in kindergarten or at primary school or secondary school, and getting them interested in technology. And we were happy to have third-party funds and were able to launch this project that you can see here. And we were able to build it in wood. So it's called Circus of Knowledge, and the circus is nothing else but a former stable. So it was a structure that was already available, and we did have a barn, and the photo at the bottom is a photo of today, what it looks like. And this is the site as we found it. So there was a concrete wall. There was a solution that was not closed from the urban development status. And we continue to develop this site further. And so we have a rectangular floor plan where a theater is located, and it closes the gap to the space in front. So this is what it looks like now. So we have all these timber structures prefabricated, or everything that you will also do in the competition. So we use the simplicity of timber structures. We also use the scenery that is available. So you are sitting in this room, the big sliding doors open, and what you see is this. You don't need a scenery. You don't need stage props, because you see, we mentioned the estate behind. This is what it looks like inside. It's a huge barn. When I was a child, always went to barns like this to play. And this inspired me to create such a room that has a very harmonious atmosphere with this dark material. The second project is a bigger one that we have been working on for 15 or 20 years. It's a barracks building, similar to what we have heard from Munich. It dates back to the 18th century. And this is a huge complex, a huge area, and we develop it in wood. So this means that we take what is there, the courtyards, we renovate them, we build flats, for example, and on the left-hand side, we built social housing, council housing, affordable housing in timber, and Austria has a housing subsidy plan, and we use these plans regulations for our buildings. And the funding regulations are very strict. The square meter must not cost more than 1,600 euros. So you see, it's rather strict, but we succeeded. It is feasible, and this is something that I would like to for you to understand. In the center, we see here the historic building. It was like a hospice for horses, and this is what it looks like. So we have a 6th floor, and then the 3-floor buildings, all of this in timber construction, and these are the structures, the zones in front of this tower. What is very interesting here is that you can use timber also on the empty grounds. Not only on the empty grounds, we also refurbished the stables, the riding stables. So we added implants, if you so want, made from wood, and this is what it looks like. Here you see the riding stables, these huge complexes, these huge buildings, and now there is a dancing school in this building, in this implant. We built this from timber, and it fits in the context of the historic fabric. Here another topic, of course, here is how to join elements, how to detach them, how to take dimensions into account. So this is the approach that is important to me, and I would like to know our young colleagues that this is precisely what the jury will look at. Now, let me say a few words on the task of the competition. Here we have the building site in Munich, a very interesting building site. I visited it yesterday, and also interesting with a view to the high-rise aspect and the zone facing the motorway. How to handle all of this will be very interesting, a very interesting urban development project. And then we have here, oh no, that's Munich again, and here we have Berlin. Of course, the dimensions there are entirely different. I am very excited to see what it looks like. I'm going to visit it and to find out how these huge volumes can be handled. This is the ground plan, and I'm not going into detail now because the next speakers who present the sites will do that. And this is the site in Vienna, also very appealing presentation earlier, and I like this description of the housing concept and in Vienna. The task of the competition, continuing and adding and reevaluating what is here, what is available. This is important. The second task is affordable housing. And then the issue of the floor plans. How can simple, feasible floor plans be used? How do you create them? And this has to do with the optimum use of areas, improving the climate. And we are talking about this, everybody talks about this. And other aspects are development areas, accessibility, emergency exits, fire protection, etc. These systematics and logistics of building. The prefabricated timber structures has to take care of the systematics and logistics. We have to get this topic into the cities and find out how it works. How can such a prefab house of huge dimensions be transported through a city? This is also an important aspect, and we are going to make sure that this will be possible and feasible. And then various systems such as hybrid structures. This is also one of the tasks. I have a brief question, Maximilian. Continuing and compacting and reevaluating at the same time. How will this work in the very dense urban fabric? Well, I am expecting the students to answer that. I am convinced that there are many ways to do that. Some solutions are already out there. The students will be supported by their professors who all have experience in this field, and I'm convinced that they will be able to manage all of that. A few words on the jury. It's a two-level competition. What does it mean? Well, all three construction sites will be examined with the support of the local jury. So we have a jury in Vienna. This is the three people here. Then at the second level, one jury member from these first juries will then be part of the final jury who determines the winner, and I am the chairman of the jury. What are the assessment criteria for the design project? If you have ever participated in a project of this sort, on a competition of this type, you will know it. So of course, one criterion is the architectural quality of the overall installation, the interaction with what is there, the quality of use of the building, the ground floor, the floor plans, the functionality and innovation of design, the transferability, multiplication of functional parts, and the economic and rational use of resources. These are the criteria that the jury will use for the assessment. And for all of this, there are monies. And of course, the monies are never sufficient. But of course, you always try to make your best. So maybe we will be able to raise additional funds, but I think it's not too bad. And for each of the 3 construction sites, there will be a winning project that will be awarded €3,000 and 2 mentions for each of the sites to the worth of 1,000. And the price for the overall first prize is for the entire monies for the competition is €15,000. I wish you every success. I don't know who will take part, whether it will be students only from European universities, but also maybe from overseas. So I wish you a lot of success and all the best and great success for your endeavor. Thank you very much. The members of the jury for Vienna are Mr. Aramis Glück, Michael Schluder, and from the civil engineering side, Mr. Kurt Pock. In Munich, it's Dr. Elisabeth Merck, Frank Latke, and Gordian Klei. And in Berlin, the members of the jury are Regula Lüscher, Markus Lager, and Carsten Hein. These are the 3 members on the first level. So high-level jury members, and we are very happy to have them. Thank you very much, Maximilian. Now we are going into detail. We will hear the descriptions of the construction sites in Berlin, Vienna, and Munich. I would like to ask Professor Birk, who is going to explain the task in Munich and describe the site in Munich. And he says, against the background of the climate crisis and the question of what is feasible in building, research and teaching play a central role. That's true, of course. You need expertise, you need know-how in order to meet the requirements and demands of modern buildings and modern timber construction. And we are very happy about the cooperation and the contribution of the university departments that focus on timber structures, especially in the 3 cities that make the sites available, and who are also the cities and the institutions that take part in this competition. And we would like to thank the universities for providing their input. Professor Birk is the chair for architecture and timber construction at the Technological University of Munich. And I would also like to thank colleague Maren Kohaus. I would like to take this opportunity to thank her for her excellent support in our project, and especially in the support she provided for this student competition. Professor Birk, may I ask you to please describe the construction site in Munich in detail and let us know the characteristics.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's a huge pleasure for me to be here. Well, after so many addresses by so many speakers from proHolz, I became a little bit dizzy because actually I'm not used to being surrounded by so many people who are so keen on timber construction and important decision makers. But it is a pleasure for us as the Technical University of Munich to be there at the student trophy, and we have much to do with the teaching of future architects and civil engineers, and for us it's a huge pleasure, and we want to also cover the demands for timber construction, and we also hope that the planning will be carried out skillfully, and we also want to make our contribution. So a very warm welcome on behalf of the Technical University of Munich. My name is Stefan Birk. Before I started to teach at the Technical University of Munich, I also had other functions, and I will support the students who will participate in the competition. And I will also be supported by Stefan Winter, who is holds a chair in timber construction and building construction. And behind us, there are, of course, several teams, diligent and hardworking teams who have prepared the task and are also accompanying this design at the Technical University of Munich. So some things have been said about the site. Well, that's a typical urban site, combination site in the north of Munich. It's a former military site, the so-called Domag Park, where on an area of 24 hectares, several facilities were created, housing facilities, but also further development structures, because in housing alone would not work there. And the stone that was thrown into the water, so to speak, was also this artistic studio. So here is an overview. Again, in Munich, if you know it, there is the Olympic Stadium. You can see this, and everyone who is not from Munich knows that, the English Gardens and so on, for your orientations. And we are located here at Domag Park within the white circle. So this is the area that is it is about. So that's the former barracks. We heard a little bit about that, military barracks from the 1940s that were used by the American army and was redensified by the American army and then by the German army. And then in 1990, there was the first civil use. And as it's very frequent when it's about urban conversion, then the artists and performers have to trigger new projects, so to speak. So this is what the situation looked like in 2012. So it was so-called tabula rasa. So you can see the U-shaped building at the bottom, where until today there are artists, about 140 artists are working in 101 studios, and there they also have some exhibition spaces. So this is then the further development of this area. As you can see here, some housing projects and other facilities like schools, shops, providing everyday needs have settled there. And this U-shaped building, the Domag studios, which can also be seen here. So it's an interesting site along the motorway A9, but it is still established and represented there. So that's the first glance at this property, at this interior space of this courtyard. So this is the side view. Let's start with a tour on Margarete-Hotzky-Strasse, and then we'll go around the building, and then we'll enter the building for better orientation. The site is interesting because there are also some interim spaces, some spaces in between. So that's in the transition area from the building areas and Domag Park and A9. So this is the view of Schüttelotzky-Strasse. To the left, you can see the housing building. And in the background, you can see this building with the lettering Atelier. So there is a house or apartment building to the left-hand side, and we are now walking towards the artist's house. So this is this studio. And this is what it looks like at this link towards the motorway with the greenery areas in front of that. And here you can see that the artists have created a very vital space. They work in the studios inside and out, and depending on the weather, these connections between the inside and outside just mingle among each others. So Halle 50, that's the exhibition room of about 180 square meters, which is lively made use of. This overview gives us an insight into the structure of the building. So it's a U-shaped building. We can still see the military character, but nevertheless, the users have made use of these former military structures. So here you can also see this informal character, which should also be expressed in a new building or in the redensification. So that's a view inside. So appropriation is maybe the key word, and also the structures are very well suitable, and they are quite flexible. And this also expresses something about the future use of the buildings, because they are created in a very flexible way. And you also find all the documents online about this procedure. To the right, we can see once again the apartment building. To the left, that's the fenced in interior courtyard, and at the back you can also see a high-rise building, which is an urban marker. And here again, this is the courtyard, which will be the subject of your planning. So that's the situation of the studios. Once again, that's the view into this exhibition situation. So that's the way they work here, and I hope you get an insight into that, and you will get more insights maybe by Googling and doing some research on Google about this urban sequence. So we talked about a tower-like structure, which is in the background. So the so-called Munich gate, the Osram high-rise building, and within this context, our site is located. So what is it about? You can find detailed information on the website. It's about urban redensification by using timber and by creating structures as high as high-rise buildings. We want to have a floor space of the new building of at least 1,400 square meters. And the answers that you have to give is how well does the new structure fit into this organism that I try to present to you. What is the networking? What is the link to the existing buildings and structures? What qualities does the new building have? What kind of housing is possible? What kind of hybrid using possibilities are possible? Living and working, is this still separate in post-COVID times? So please think about that, reflect about that, and find answers to these questions. And we're looking forward to getting the works from the students, and also the results that we will get from hopefully many different European universities for the project site in Munich. I wish you lots of success for this, and I would like to conclude by a picture from a colleague from Copenhagen, because this picture is a kind of a promise for some urban redensification. We do not know, is it inside or outside, but we just know it's wood, it's timber, it's durable, it's sustainable, it's lasting, it's about community, it's about good food, the sun is shining, and in this sense I wish you lots of success, and I'm now going to pass the floor on to Stefan Winter. Thank you very much, Professor Birk. Professor Winter holds a chair in timber construction and building construction at the Technical University of Munich. And the floor is yours, Mr. Winter. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Stefan Birk has presented the project site to you, but I would like to say a few more words about the general situation for timber construction in Munich at this point in time. So I can speak in German because simultaneous interpretation is provided. In Munich, we have a different military conversion area, and we have already put lots of wooden structures on that, namely on Cosima Street. And actually 1/3 should have been developed by means of wooden structures. And on this 1/3 of the site, there were residential houses, villa-like houses and buildings with several stories. If you don't know that, if you're not from Munich, come and visit us, look at it, because it's very interesting that even beyond this funded project, also other buildings were created. And the city of Munich, depending on the type of materials used, also provided some subsidies and grants. And they said that housing associations can build buildings when they use timber constructions mainly, and then they would also get subsidies for that. What was also very interesting, and what I think is also very important for this project site, because we also had our own construction sites there, it was very good to see that the timber construction sites were a lot cleaner and a lot faster than all the others. And I think also with regard to this project site, you should keep that in mind, because it is being in use. We're making a surgical intervention on the open heart, so to speak. So this means whatever we're doing, and in the course of the process, we have to think how can we optimize the building time, what can we prefabricate, what can we use without interfering and disturbing the people who work that to a large extent. So I think it won't be possible to do that without any disturbances, but at least you should keep the amount of disturbances very low. I would like to stimulate you to go into detail. So we're talking about the construction, the design, and also the assembly and so on. But I also want to encourage you when you have the goal of using as much timber, you should think that not always is it really good to use wood. It's not always sensible to make use of wood with regard to all the components. So please think about it in a differentiated way. And I would really like to encourage you to reflect about that. There are designs for the different project sites, and we have a conflicting goal. And this is on the one hand that we know that in our buildings, when they consist predominantly of timber, that they store much carbon dioxide and that they also are good for the climate. But on the other hand, it is also necessary that we build and construct in a resource efficient manner. So there is this link, so that on the one hand, out of reasons of climate protection, we should use as much timber as possible. But on the other hand, we should always deal with the building material in a resource efficient way. We do not always find an optimum solution, but it would be good if you could also think about this conflicting goal and maybe also address it in several points because sometimes a dissolved construction would be more wise than just a solid wood panel. And maybe in other cases, a solid wood construction would be more sensible than a dissolved construction. So this is a conflicting goal, and it's an exciting task to solve this question. In any way, I'm looking forward to assisting the students, and I'm very curious to getting to know the results. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Winter. So the task is very interesting. It is demanding and challenging. And of course, we require intelligent and sustainable solutions in order to face all the challenges that we have as the residents of the cities. Now we will take another look to Berlin, to the Technical University of Berlin, where there's a very interesting establishment, namely the Natural Building Lab at the Architecture Institute, and the head of this institute is Eike Roswag-Klinge. The Natural Building Lab is a part of a transdisciplinary network, and they work with projects that create prototypes for a post-fossil society. And what is also very interesting, timber construction atlas of Brandenburg was created there and worked out there. And this atlas is a digital platform for innovative timber construction projects in the metropolis of Berlin, Brandenburg, which was created in 2020. It is also available online and was created on the initiative of the Natural Building Lab at the Technical University of Berlin. And this was also created together with the Berlin Senate administration. A very warm welcome to the architects at the Natural Building Lab, Nina Pawlicki and Kim Gundlach. And now the floor is yours, and please give us some information about the project site Berlin.
Hello from Berlin. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for having us and giving us the opportunity to present the construction site in Berlin. Even though we cannot be on site and have to do it remotely, but let me start the presentation. I'm going to share my screen. And Nina Pawlicki is my name, and my colleague is Kim Gundlach. Both of us are scientific researchers at the Natural Building Lab. And since 2008, we are also involved in the project of the House of Statistics, and we are also members of the supervisory board of AG, and we share this task. So it is our great pleasure today to introduce the construction site to you. As Natural Building Lab, we will also offer bachelor theses, and because we are very much interested in cooperation with non-academic players and interdisciplinary cooperation. This is something that we are very interested in, and we are going to cooperate with various other departments. And in the introductory words, it was mentioned that the Holzbau Atlas, the timber structure map, was developed, and these are projects that were carried out together with students, and we tried to make timber structures in Berlin, Brandenburg more visible. And so this is this Holzbau Atlas, this map is the result, because there is quite a lot of timber structures in Berlin and surroundings. And now let us focus on the construction site, the House of Statistics, Haus der Statistik. Yes, hi and welcome from me. Let me explain the project to you. Thank you, Nina, for the introductory words. Well, we thought that we should explain the project and break down the phases of development of the past years. And we also have some photos for you. You heard a lot of information from Menke Christoph earlier, but we have the photos to go with, the pictures to go through. And the house has several phases. Phase 0 is the development that started in 2015. That was an artistic protest campaign. And then the next phase was phase 1 was the urban development competition that provided the basis for the development plan. And phase 2 is the pioneering use. And this is the phase we are in now. And the focus here is on activating the existing building stock and how to handle with the architectural heritage and the urban heritage, and how can we use it to develop flats for which there is such a huge need in our city. And phase 3 will be the planning and construction phase. So we are now in more or less a transition phase, and this information is also important for the competition because it will deal with new structures. So the project House of Statistics was kicked off in 2015, and since 2018 it is the official model project of the city of Berlin for urban development. And something else that is very important here is there are no private partners involved, but it is 5 public and civil engineering partners. Here the history. The building complex has been going through a tremendous development process since the 1960s. The building was developed by the GDR for the Central State Administration for Statistics, and it was used for that purpose until 1989. And afterwards, various federal authorities were located there. The last one moved out in 2008, and Stasi documents were processed there at the time, and since then it was empty. The focus today should be on the site, but I would still like to say more about the building itself. It is part of a complex together with the Haus des Lehrers and Haus des Reisen. So this is a very important point in the city. It's the entrance point to Karl Marx Avenue, and on the other hand there is Alexander Square, which over the past few years has been characterized by commercialization and naturistic details. And on the other hand, Karl Marx Avenue with old residential areas, buildings dating back to the 1960s. And so it is a very drastic decline of infrastructure, traditional and historic infrastructure. And the House of Statistics is placed and located at a very interesting intersection and wants to create a new element of the urban fabric. So we are now here in 2021, which is highlighted by this blue circle. We are not sticking to the original time schedule, and the qualification plan has just been launched, and the start of construction will only be next year if everything goes according to plan. So a few more words on the phase 0 initiative and vision. The initiative after the artistic protest intervention was founded in 2015, and they launched a thesis in during the Berlin Art Week, and a group that is called ABBA. It's a group of architects, artists, and planners who are fighting or fought for more place for art in Berlin. And since this building was empty for a long time, they put up this poster saying this is a place where a space for culture will be developed. And this has a very official character. It looks as if it was an official poster, but it was not at all. It was this protest initiative. And what was important was that visions were developed for this building very quickly. A lot of PR work was carried out, and it played an important role also in politics. There were great efforts made to receive support from the political side, and it became part of the coalition agreement that was made by the government in 2016. And then the city built the complex, bought the complex back. So the setting or the ground was prepared for the COPE 5, and this was the transition from phase 0 to phase 1. The building stock is 15,000 square meters, and there was a lot of development potential on the building site, and this provided the possibility to develop a project with the input of many different players and actors. After all, it would have been too big for one stakeholder alone. And we also have to add that the City of Berlin was very interested in developing this construction site further, because the Berlin administration needs additional floor space, and some authorities have to relocate by the year 2029. So all of this together created an important momentum for this cooperation that was kicked off. And COPE 5 includes the Land Berlin, the Senate for Urban Living, then the District Department of Berlin Mitte, which is going to build a new city hall in this area. The fourth partner is BIM, the Berlin Immobilienmanagement GmbH. Their role is to act as the official trustee administrator of the building, and they will also use the building. And Wohnungsgesellschaft Berlin Mitte is the fifth partner. They are going to build affordable flats there and hold many apartments here. And Zusammenkunft Berlin, the legal representative of the initiative, and they are in charge of the space program and all the social aspects, etc. And they are also going to build a residential building. And this is the cooperative, and it was formed in 2018. And this was also the moment of the establishment, was also the moment where phase 1 started. We started with the workshop procedure and the competition, and it was very important here that we were present on site. So the empty buildings were reactivated when we moved in there. A very complex procedure was developed in order to bring together all the various levels of control, planning, urban development, but also other players. So there were various formats where different target groups cooperated and met to to talk about the project development. Here a few impressions of this time. This was, of course, before COVID, where we had regular meetings in the workshop and developed and were able to explore excellent formats. We had neighbors meeting, we had representatives from urban planning and people from Coop 5, and they all met there to develop and to discuss the various states of the and ideas of development. Here a few of the winning project that was from Thiel Internet Cafe and Urbanism, and this is an important photo because we see here the existing building stock and the new building. The blue buildings are administrative buildings, the red buildings are residential buildings, and in light red, the building of Zusammenkunft Berlin. This is the construction site, and we are going to zoom into that later. And the green area is the use area of the Initiative Stadt Berlin. And here you can see the way how urban development works. It was important that we have free space despite the very dense development, various free areas. And here we see something that was very important, and that's the idea of these curated ground floors, because the idea was, even though we had different players, we still wanted to have a ground floor zone that has a focus on neighborhood use and public use. And this is something that will also play an important role in this competition now. Now the second phase, pioneering use. I think that's important. I should say a little about that, because the entire project will continue until 2030, until everything is completed and can be handed over. And the idea was to activate the existing building stock now, and what we see here is a sketch drawing of the curated ground floor zones, and the idea is that we can try out here at the small scale what the future will bring. And these ground floor zones were all opened and in 2019, and so we can check out what is actively and actually needed in the city, and how can the cooperative partners find out which use will be needed. And this is another description of the structure. And pioneer users, they also built or they developed bodies such as the pioneer users and the pioneer developers, and they cooperate in various ways. It's very close exchange with the city and experts. And another important aspect of the pioneering use is that we try to find out what is actually needed, which use will be interesting for WWM. And in addition to that, we also try to initiate focal areas here, for example, community learning, local democracy. So these are issues that are important for the quarter and will also be important for the coming years. A few impressions, a few photos of what this all means. Of course, you are also most warmly invited to go there and visit the site every Tuesday. There are meetings. There's a lot of public services and public offers of the players, and many artistic projects, educational projects. So many things go on there. And so please do come and see it. And we hope that we can learn from all of that and learn how the activation, this activation can be carried out. Now, phase 3, planning and construction. In 2019, we started the reactivation of the existing building stock, and the planning continues until 2030. In addition to COP 5, there are various pioneer uses and cooperative use formats. And finally, as a conclusion to all of that, we see here a larger view of the building site. The dark red is residential building with a focus on cluster apartments. A cluster log is available on the internet, and the ZKIG would like to build an experimental building with a focus on residential use. And again, in all of these buildings, the ground floor zones are to be used for commercial and public purposes. And if you are interested, if this presentation created an interest in you, I would be happy to meet you next week on Wednesday. There will be a tour of the construction site to tell you more about the building stock, and you can explore what's there and what it looks like, and discuss the future use of it. Thank you very much. Oh, one more thing. There will be concrete information on our website about the meeting next Wednesday, but this is the time. This is 10 o'clock next Wednesday. Thank you very much to Berlin. A very multifaceted, future-oriented project of basic democracy at the very heart of Berlin. We are very much looking forward to the design projects that will be submitted. And I would like to thank Nina Pawlicki and Kim Gundlach very much for the presentation, and all the best from us to Berlin. Thank you. Let's move on our tour through the cities. We move to Vienna. At the University of Technology in Vienna, we have Thomas Hasler and Peter Bauer, who are involved in the project. They contribute or work together with their teams. Thomas Hasler is the chair for research for civil engineering and design, and Peter Bauer is in charge of civil engineering and timber construction. And at the beginning, we heard short videos from the so we recorded videos of the professors, and after these videos you will hear more details about the site from the students.
Very warm welcome to the proHolz Student Trophy 2022. My name is Thomas Hasler. I'm the head of the research department for building construction and design at the Technical University of Vienna. Here with me is my colleague from civil engineering, Peter Bauer. So we are doing that together. So please excuse any mistakes that we're having in our appearance here online. It is very regretful that we cannot be there with you in Munich. In the background, you can see some works of our students where you can see that wood and timber is a very important topic at the Technical University of Vienna. Let's now come to the task for the student trophy. We have the project site in Vienna, in the 16th district in Vienna on Thalia-Strasse. It's about urban development densification. There we have very big residential buildings from the late 1960s, 9-story council buildings. These are buildings, or actually an urban district that is built in this fashion as a point structure with lots of greenery in between. And the greenery are very often degenerated into parking places with low livability. And now there are two important topics, namely on the one hand, the redensification with the resource saving building material wood on the one hand, and on the other hand, an increase in quality, urban development quality, and livability. And these two together should be combined in this timber construction trophy, and we're very excited and curious for your contributions. The challenges are definitely the building material of timber for the future as a resource saving material, and also for saving the climate. And the climate also has to work indoors and outdoors. So this is definitely a challenge also with regard to heat insulation. And we are curious about innovative contributions in this respect. It's very good to see that as a university we can participate in this project, and also that we have this big international resonance of this undertaking. So Peter, the floor is yours. Well, what I am particularly pleased about this international competition is that it enables interdisciplinary working like in reality, which is always needed in reality, so that here engineers and architects work on a task together. They are destined to solve the task together. So in my point of view, this involves engineering, support structure planning, building physics, building technology, and so, and all this should be included in your design. My colleague said beforehand that we expect to see new innovative proposals and suggestions. From my point of view, of course, with regard to civil engineering, support structure planning, but also from building physics, and also under the aspect, how can I disassemble or deconstruct my building? How can we reuse building components? And I'm looking forward to receiving lots of interesting contributions from you. I think it will be a very fruitful discourse that we are starting here, and I look forward to the solutions that in the truest sense of the word will be unusual, but of course they also have to be very good. And in this sense, I wish you lots of success for your work. And also from me, lots of success, and see you again. Thank you very much. How this redensification and the increase in quality of urban development, quality and livability can take place will be described by the two assistant professors. And I am welcoming Alireza Faday and Lorenzo de Chiffre, who work in the research department for building construction and design. And who works there. And also I would like to welcome Alireza Fadai, who is an assistant professor at the Institute for Civil Engineering and Timber Engineering at the Technical University of Vienna. Hello, everybody from Vienna. In the next few minutes, we will give you an insight into a few specifics of the Viennese context, so that you will get an insight about the project side. We have prepared our presentation in two parts. I will do the first part, namely building construction and design, and Alireza will do the second part about civil engineering and timber engineering. I'm going to share our screen now. So that you can also see the pictures that we have prepared for you. So we hope that you can all see the pictures, the presentation. So it seems to work perfectly. Well, then Thomas Schuster told a little bit about the Viennese context beforehand, but I want to emphasize this heritage of history. We heard that after the First World War, thousands of apartments were built for the lower classes. So well known is the Karl Marx Hof, but there are also other residential buildings that were built for social housing. Reumannhof, this is what you can see here. And what is important is also that the city council builds here. And this project of Gemeindebaut, the municipality builds, is a very interesting feature. Also, there was this settler association that also built some smaller projects in the area. And this is a little bit of a contrast. So we have a dialectic approach that is still perceivable these days. In Vienna, in the sense of council housing or social housing, is very open to experimentation. And in this sense, we also want to address the students and also appeal the students. So in the past, the concentration was more to create inexpensive apartments, but then from the late 1950s, there was a more intense dealing with social housing. So the focus was on residential building with a social touch. Victor Hufnagel is one of the representatives and is a chief architect. Here the so-called Wiener Höfe was taken up as a concept, and this was also seen as a new project, and also social features were included in the project. So at the top you can still see the creation by Schuster from the 1950s, and then also the other structures. So here you can also see that different urban structures meet that will also be visible at our project site. During the 1980s and the beginning of the 1990s, the funded housing by developers is given a priority. These days there is a political motivation to create social housing, and the city is using its own building sites to build new housing projects. So here you can see a project by NMBB architects that was completed in 2021. They maybe in other sectors, people are more eager to experiment a little bit. So on the right-hand side, you can see some more experiment where also timber is used as a material in this construction project. One central topic of this task is the redensification. So there are structures that were created during the 1950s and 1960s, and there are some areas and some sites that are well suited for redensification and would also make a good offer for social housing. So we call this as a hybrid project, both in terms of construction and also in terms of use. Because use should also be in a hybrid way. In the picture, you can see the project site. We are in the 16th district in Vienna. To the right, you can see Otterkring. That's a workers' district. So this is a kind of a border, a kind of separation or transition. So here we can see buildings from the 1970s, and then it becomes a more loose one family house structure. And this is also the interesting thing, because we are at this border, at this separation. Our actual project site is this here. This was created by Friedrich Lang. The building dates back to 1967, 69. So mainly prefabrication in steel, and we're doing prefabrication in timber construction. So we can see lots of greenery. And in this sense, we can see this abandoned parking space, which is our project site. And it's really good to see that in the age of cars and automobiles, we can now get rid of a parking space and create a housing project. So this is our open space, our free space where we want to undertake the project. The documents are very well prepared, and when you check out the website and download the documents, then you will also see an overview of the project site. So even if you're not from Vienna, you can see a very good documentation of the project site. This picture demonstrates very good the openness of this task. In this sense, I wish you lots of success for the competition, and we'll change to the second presentation, and then Alireza Fadai will give you some specifics about the project in Vienna. Thank you very much, Lorenzo. I'm going to concentrate on Vienna and the special features of Vienna. Vienna is different. So in short, we have summarized of what we are expected to see of this building method for the city of the future. So we want to create lots of space on a limited area, and to realize that in a building time that is as short as possible. We want to create affordable housing and energy efficient housing. It should be resource saving, and also recycling should be taken into account. But what should we do that? Well, the building method is timber construction, and also the timber hybrid construction. So we also see a limit of different construction with regard to height. We also have an 84 story high timber construction here in Vienna, and this allows us to do lots of things. So we have tried out many things, and so also high-rise buildings in timber construction should not be a problem. So here we can see the share of timber construction in Austria, and here we can see that it rose a lot. In July in Vienna, a new housing project was started. It's the so-called Viennese residential building program, and it's about natural and urban housing by using wood. And we also found some interesting issues. We have a parking space. It's a space of 1,830 square meters, but it's not a greenfield area, but it's actually a parking place that can be found here. And we want to create a new building by using timber and wood. And it should be made usable mainly for residential purposes. So here you can see the structure. We also leave something open. We want to create some parking spaces, of course. So maybe we might have to plan an underground car park, or maybe also a kind of mobility plan has to be taken into account. And also for load deflection, several issues may have to be taken into account. What is also in this tender is commercial areas. So we will have the commercial areas on the ground floor. We also have to take that into account, and also the height of the various stories. And on top of that, we should have a residential mix. And here we will have to take into account some modifications. So we have 5 different types. We have different sizes from 36 square meters to 120 square meters. And another important topic is the energy requirement. We are talking about a zero energy building. So it's about creating renewable energy. So I can think of, for example, installing photovoltaic modules on the roof, for example. And this trend has also to be taken into account. So when we look at the surroundings, so at the end of the 1960s, the precast steel elements were fabricated. And I think that we will keep up these elements, and also, for example, the escape routes will be done with prefabricated concrete elements, and also the commercial areas on the ground floor. We will have a story height of 2.75. This would be very interesting for the creation and for the design of the facade, and also taking the requirements into account. When we plan with timber construction, so hybrid timber construction, then we always have to take into account fire protection. We have to take into account the requirements with regard to fire protection. So we can plan up to 6 stories high without having to plan special structural elements. So, but what will happen if we plan buildings that are higher than 6 stories? So this is an overview. So you can see up to 6 stories in timber construction or hybrid timber construction is not a problem. So we have a rating of A2, and that is okay. Holzbau Austria created this tabular survey with all the figures. So this is also what is included in the building, and what we also include in the tender. So in any case, we'll start with a building class of 4, maybe building class of 5. We'll see if we plan a high-rise building. And wherever you can see the blue parts, it's becoming unpleasant. This means with 6 stories, you can still plan with the building material timber. And according to the level of 2019, we can first use mineral elements and also use wood. we can deviate from the regulations of this OIB regulation with regard to fire protection. This high-rise building shows us that this is possible. So what do we learn from this lighthouse project in Vienna? A fire protection concept was presented based on small fire sections, short escape routes, automatic water sprinklers, and also increased quality controls. Lots of tests were carried out, and it was shown that this hybrid timber construction works. So this is an example which motivates us, even when it's necessary, for example, for the planning, that we can also plan 8 or 9 stories from my point of view. One more thing which is important for Vienna is also the reference to greenery of the facades. So in Vienna, you have to check if it's a northern face facade or if it's a different orientation, because the topic is really thermal overheating. So the building has to have a use also for the environment. But what is also very important is the distribution of fire via the facade, because in Austria, there is the OIB guideline number 2. So you have to include this fire protection goal. In Vienna, the Magistrat 22 department is important for that and responsible for that. And in 2019, they gave out a brochure. In June 2021, the city addressed this topic of facade greenery, and they said in building classes 4 and 5 you can have and also emphasize facade greenery. Well, all the regulations are online. They can be seen online. You can check out all the regulations, so if you have vertical or horizontal greenery and so on. But when you exceed 22 meters of the escape route, then there are also other regulations that you have to take into account. And we will see what this means for our project. Another issue for our project is also the deflection of the horizontal forces. So we also have to think about economically and functionally sensible development spaces. If we construct well, if we plan well, and I'm convinced about that when we use the construction material timber, then we can also use this example. This was the pagoda, and almost, although there were almost 50 earthquakes of the magnitude 7.0, this pagoda survived everything, and it is completely constructed out of wood. And this brings me also to the location-specific load perceptions. So this is called the EHORA, that's the National Hazard Overview and Risk Assessment Austria, which provides an overview. And you can get all the loads within 1 minute. So you can just check it. For example, we have here the Eurocode 1 of EN 1991-13, or we have the EN 1991-14. And also in the case of earthquakes, well, we know that we are in an area where we have to count on severe damages on buildings. So earthquake is definitely a topic that has to be included in the planning. So here we can see we are in zone 3. And in this environment, we have a soil acceleration of 0.8. So therefore, we are in Eurocode 8 and of the plot class B. But in Austria, we have to apply the answer spectra of type 1. So this means that we calculate with an acceleration of 0.96. But it is sensible for us, together with the existing elements, that we think about reinforcing elements. We can think about many things, but we must not forget how we can really deal with earthquakes. And this is really a problem. So let us please extend our knowledge and also be creative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this is an excellent opportunity to continue the story of the successful history of social housing in Vienna. I would like to thank the two gentlemen in Vienna, Sigrid and Fadai in Vienna at the University of Technology, and thank you very much for their contribution. So this brings us closer to the end of our meeting today, and this gives me the opportunity to thank our sponsoring partners. And we need their support. In order to finance and organize such a project, we need the support of partners, and these are large industrial providers of timber construction solutions and very interesting range of products and systems that they offer. They are here today. They brought material with them to look at, but I recommend you visit their websites. So there is a lot of material available online so that you can learn more about the prefab solutions for timber structure. These are the companies proHolz, Haslacher Timber, KLH, Meyer Melnhof Holz, Stora Enso, Rubner Holzbau, Rotoblas, and Sieger. All of them have different products that they offer for timber structure, timber construction, and all of these are renowned companies. I would like to thank them, and I would like to thank all the others who support us in this efforts in this project. Let me announce the next dates that are important for you. The deadline for submission is the 31st of March 2022, and this year in December we will install and go live with the upload program, so you can register and upload your designs online. And then in May there is the award ceremony, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all there. That's the 19th of May 2022, and the ceremony will take place at the University of Technology in Vienna. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. Thank you for your interest, and I wish you every success. We are very much looking forward to the interesting project designs that we will receive. And as I said, the next meeting will be in Vienna at the University of Technology for the awards ceremony. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your interest, and every success in the competition.